Land Rover is a brand that sells itself on adventure. Wouldn't you agree, Sam?
I definitely agree. I would say a Land Rover that isn't any good off-road probably isn't a Land Rover.
There you go. And to top it off, they even give you, with this car in particular, this little adventure key. Now what this is for is when you go off-road, to the beach, hiking, whatever it might be, you can leave your keys in the car and take this with you so you don't lose them. Now we understand that not many people are going to take their car off-road, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't see if this thing does what it says on the tin. So Sam, what do we have planned today?
We're going to give it a bit of a beach run, nothing too hardcore, but we're going to see what the car's made of. It's important to see what traction systems are like, what the driveline can handle in terms of soft sand. But this beach, which I have driven on before, is a bit treacherous at the moment. Sand is apparently quite soft according to the locals, and a lot of the sand has been washed away in a recent storm, so it should be a good challenge for this Discovery Sport.
Awesome, and I'm a bit of a rookie, so luckily we got Sam here and some recovery gear to get us out if we get stuck. Let's go for a drive on the soft stuff, mate.
Let's go see how we go.
Just a quick recap on what our Land Rover Discovery Sport actually is. It's an R-Dynamic SE P250 model, which is the highest power petrol version available. The base model car starts from a bit over $71,000 before on-roads. Our car is equipped with a stack of options: orange paint, a tech pack, plus some exterior styling elements that takes the price up to $83K before on-roads.
As always, tyre pressures are quite crucial when you're going off-road, and you've got to consider it with a four-wheel drive like this Discovery Sport. We've got optional 20-inch wheels here, which are not exactly perfect for sand driving. You haven't got much tyre there compared to the wheel, and you're a bit limited with how far you can air down before you run into troubles. This can separate from this if you go too low. So we've gone to around 15 or 16 PSI, and it's all about gentle driving. Another thing to consider before you get on the beach and before you might get stuck is what happens if you do get stuck. Thankfully, Land Rover has thought of recovery points with this Discovery Sport. Pop this off here, you'll find this under the boot next to that Space Saver spare. Push that in there, and that's your recovery point for getting dragged out forwards. There's also a point on the back, but you have to use the same point. And as always, carry some recovery gear. We've got some max tracks, we've got a shovel, we've got an air compressor and a basic recovery kit. And we're also traveling with a friend, which makes things a bit safer.
Now I've mentioned that I'm a bit of a novice at this and I've only driven on the sand a couple of times, but I've got to say I didn't feel like I lacked any confidence in a Land Rover Discovery Sport. Even going between on a day, our other car on the shoot, which was a dual cab U, I didn't feel like that offered me any more confidence when compared to the Disco Sport. So far, so good. No, I haven't got stuck here in the Disco yet, Sam, which is a good thing.
Yeah, let's not count our eggs before they hatch, although I have to say, pretty tricky conditions here, really choppy in spots. Suspension's getting a bit of a workout, but so far so good.
And I had to use definitely a bit of the throttle too to get it out of some ruts there. So what we'll do now is that I might jump in with you, mate, and get some guidance from you in the car. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I'm actually keen for a drive.
Awesome.
It's not just tyre pressures with these modern four-wheel drives. You do have a lot of drive modes. You feel that kick in there. So let's go to the correct mode.
Yeah.
Cycle through. There's the cactus. So we're in sand mode now.
Okay.
Getting bogged here already. Nah, we're stuck. One old trap for young players in this Discovery Sport did catch me off guard. If you turn the car off, hop out and take some photos for example, the Discovery Sport will revert back to its normal driving mode and turn stability control back on when you restart. So after I stopped to change modes, I got bogged. That's all good though. We had a vehicle for recovery and a recovery point on the front of the Discovery Sport. And hey, it all adds to the fun of a day off-road. So Justin, full disclosure there for our readers.
Mate.
You've been doing a very good job of driving this thing through some pretty tricky spots there, I reckon.
Thanks, man.
For a few kilometres.
I did mention too that it shows you that even with all the experience in the world, such as yourself, that sometimes terrain can catch you out.
Yeah. So what I did there was I didn't have the right mode selected as I took off, so stopped the car, probably not in the best spot. This thing was a little bit high centered. You could see where in between the wheel tracks there was a bit of sand built up and it was just bellied out a little bit. So as we tried to take off again, no bueno. So anyway, we've got ourselves out here. We'll see if we can have another go.
Round two.
Make sure we're in all the right modes to start off with now.
Good to go.
Handbrake off. Let's see if I can't get bogged again. Slightly better progress.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere now, which is good. Yeah, I did feel like this car, compared to some of the other cars I've driven, particularly the old Isuzu and on the sand, that you do have to be a bit more gentle with the steering and it's sort of just wallow a bit. It could be the big tyre on it, I guess, following around.
Yep. Just moving through the ruts here, this suspension's actually pretty good considering we're riding on 20-inch wheels. This has a bit of suppleness to it. It's not bouncing around too much.
Yeah, and I did notice too that you made mention in the other car that we're in that you were getting some lock on the bump stops and some full compression going on. Here, this car's kind of nice and subtle, and it doesn't seem to mind it, to be honest.
No, it does feel pretty good. You do have to get used to the throttle, I think, in this thing. You can feel that it's that sort of traditional Land Rover throttle that's quite long in its throw.
Yeah.
Even with sand mode on, I think it tightens it up a little bit, but just to make sure you've got enough momentum and wheel speed, I suppose, as you get through, get to some tricky spots, you do need to sort of be pretty quick on the throttle sometimes just to make sure it's all good.
It's nice to see though that this car, given it's primarily marketed as a family bitumen-esque SUV that spends time in town, that you can bring it out here on the sand and have a bit of a go in it if you've got a bit of experience behind your belt, or you've got a friend with you that knows what they're doing and to give you a hand.
Definitely the best tip would be, if you're starting out, learn the car, learn the modes and that sort of thing, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the menu that adds to the capability of this car. But probably just travel with someone else, so when you do get into trouble like we did, you can get pulled out and keep on going. Try and turn around here. This is some pretty boggy stuff here. This is probably
a bit of a test. It looks soft too.
It does. I hate to get stuck twice.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're doing now, mate, so you'll be fine.
I feel that throttle there is really sort of, it's almost like all or nothing sometimes.
Yeah, it's accelerating really quickly high and then sort of back down, and it was revving quite high, but it seemed to help you.
It's happy to rev, and it's got power when you need it, but you do need to stay into it to keep moving. I guess that's the big thing about this car, right? I mean, it competes with things like Audi Q5, even Volkswagen a little bit towards the higher end of their markets, but those are all SUVs that might be all-wheel drive and they might have some modes, but they don't really market themselves as being an off-roader.
Yeah, and
where this car is.
As we said at the start of the video, Land Rover do sell their brand on adventure, and as far as I'm concerned, this is slightly adventurous. And this is something that the people that aspire to own these cars may want to do one day. Whether they do it or not is a different story, but you know, it's nice to know that it does do what it says on the tin, I guess.
Absolutely.
I made an initial complaint on the steering on this car, that I found that, you know, to 90 degrees either side it's sort of soft and wallowy, and then afterwards it loads up. But you know what, it actually makes sense here why they may have calibrated it like that.
100%.
Yeah, I totally understand now why you've got that sort of sloppiness up the front, because you sort of need no resistance just to navigate things like this, and then it loads up a bit after 90 degrees on the road. But yeah, sort of again, driving this car in this scenario makes the steering make sense, I guess.
Yeah, it does feel a bit at home, I suppose. Not like a fish out of water.
The suspension is remarkably compliant, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Considering the stuff that you can see back now that we're going past, it is deep and rutty out there, and this thing just wallows off softly.
It does.
I could probably hold a cup here of half a bit of water and it wouldn't spill anywhere, mate.
A bit of Earl Grey tea, perhaps.
Yeah, that's more suited to this car. The old English breakfast, mate, goes good.
Yeah. No, that's impressive, actually.
Yeah, it's doing better than we thought it would see, I would say.
100%, yeah. For a city SUV, mostly on 20-inch wheels, it's impressive.
It's not bad at all, is it? The little Land Rover that could, mate.
Yeah. I'll have to give it back to you before I get bogged down.
Mate, I've got to say, I had a heap of fun out here today, and I learned a bit about my driving too. But the question I have for you, Sam, is would you buy one of these, and would you enjoy off-road here on the sand?
I have to say, very impressed with the Discovery Sport today. Let's put that bogging aside for a second. I figured out the driving modes, I figured out the right driving technique, and once we figured that out, it was nice to drive. It felt comfortable, it felt confident on some pretty tough conditions. I would be swapping out these 20s for 18-inch wheels and maybe some better tyres, and I probably wouldn't be doing this every weekend. I'd pick a more dedicated four-wheel drive for that, but this is good off-road, and it's got a really nice, what Land Rover calls, breadth of capability. I see that.
That's the one thing I did notice about this car in particular, was how comfortable it remained on some of these really deep ruts here. It didn't get too unsettled, it didn't shake the car around, the suspension was sort of very compliant and quite supple, which was quite nice.
Yeah, definitely.
And there you have it. That proves that this Land Rover Discovery Sport does exactly what it says on the tin. Now make sure you jump on and subscribe and leave us a comment below, because we've got this car now for a couple more weeks. So if you've got any questions, now's the time to ask them.